Well, hello. I thought I fixed this. I fixed the obviously I didn't. How's everyone doing? How is everyone doing? Fantastic day. I hope you're excited for your weekend. I hope that you're going to have a fun, relaxing weekend. I for sure am not. I think that's the first piece of news that we're going to cover today. So, welcome. If you're not new, I take my lunch break. We cover the news for an hour. We cover pretty much all the gambits of the news. Let me know what you like the best, and I'll make sure to work on ensuring we cover that. Okay, so the first big piece of news is no stream tomorrow. I'm really good about being consistent and doing my Saturday streams, but not this week. I am literally actually moving. I know I've been saying that for a month now, and I'm moving my stuff. So the Null Labs is moving. It is packing its bags. It's leaving town and moving. That being said, probably no stream next weekend either, as I have an event. So jump on the Discord. I'm going to get back to streaming as soon as I can, as fast as possibly as I can, but there's going to be a lot of setup in the new temporary home that we have. So yeah, this is like the end of part one. Let's call this part two of book one. We're on part two of book one. We're gonna then move again. I don't know when, but that will be book two, and we'll probably have two parts of that too. So that will be fantastic. So much fun. Let's get into the news because that will be more next stream from Canada. Russell, I'm not moving to Canada, despite your best efforts. Not moving to Canada. But let's jump into the news. I'm sorry that I'm missing some streams, but I've been trying to stream and be consistent, but I'm like effectively don't expect to stream next week. That's the best I can say. Hopefully the week after that we'll get into some normalcy, but you will have to see. I'd fit right in. Yeah. I've been told that. We'll have to look in part two of moving. We'll look for Canadian land. We'll see. All right, let's talk about the news. The first thing we have is a little bit of drama. We're covering drama first because it's just so much fun. So I found this post. On Hacker News. That's this. Sourcegraph went dark. And, it links to this article that talks about, Sourcegraph going dark here. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so today the Sourcegraph, the repository went private. This is the final cleaving blow following many other smaller chops. So if you guys don't remember, in 2019, they went open source. In 2023, they went to like an enterprise license, and they now have gone completely closed source at this point. Now, the interesting thing is that actually the CEO of Sourcegraph actually responded to this, which was really cool because you can actually go through and see, how they respond and what they're thinking about. And I want to, I haven't actually used Sourcegraph, but I've seen a lot of good stuff come from them. And I want to talk about something that they bring up here, which I don't think that people understand. So one of the things that they talk about is that open source is actually a lot of work, and to them it wasn't worth the work for their product. And they even go to say, by the way, if any founders out there are wondering whether they should make their own core code open source or public, they're happy to chat, email, and profile. I think it could make a lot of sense for a lot of companies, but for infrastructure project or client but more so for infrastructure products or client tools, not so much for full server side and end user applications. So that's kind of what Sourcegraph was this end user application, and their point was that you know, for better or for worse, they weren't really getting a ton of contributors from outside of the company, and it was a lot of work to support. And honestly, I've said this from the get-go, actually supporting open source is a lot of work. I don't even do it well for my projects, like the null database. Actually, if I wanted to actually have contributors, now this is something that I don't want because we're doing this as a lesson, as videos, but if I wanted people to be able to contribute to it, I need to have public office hours where I spend time communicating with the community. I need to have, and that takes time and effort. I need to have really good documentation so new people can get in. I need to have really active people responding to issues and things that are opened up because it feels really bad if you open an issue that never even gets a comment. And so it can be really a lot of work. And if you're not seeing a lot of people being involved in it, and if you're already not really with an open source license at that point, I can understand why being source available, which is what they went to in 2023, doesn't really make sense. Now, whether you agree with this or think they should be, that's up to you. I'm going to leave this link for you all. You're more than welcome to check it out. They go in and talk about a lot. I actually really liked that they spent as much time as they did to respond to this thing. They talk about some of the abuse that they've gotten of their free tier and issues with that. So, you know, if I ever founded something, I would love to talk to them because it sounds like they went through a lot of these issues. So, anyways, there you go. Sourcegraph is now closed for business. I mean, they're not actually closed for business. I meant like the open source, whatever. You know what I mean. There's still a thing. There you go. There you go. Okay, we can get back into the new stuff. Actually, did they mention whether Cody stayed open source, right? Oh, this was one of the things. Cody is still open source, but this is an interesting point. As we've been building Cody, our AI, our code AI tool, we've seen a lot more abuse. That's what happens when you offer any free tier of a product with LLM inferences. We had to move a lot of our internal backend abuse logic to private repositories. And it added a code complexity to incorporate that private stuff at build time. So there is a private aspect, which is the stuff that's designed to prevent you from doing it. So basically, you know, a lot of people would say, like, if the abuse logic can't be open, then it's not well designed because you can read the abuse logic and get around it, which I would tend to agree with. But I think a lot of stuff with LLM stuff, a lot of these we don't know how to properly do it. So that obfuscation is, you know, maybe the best way at this time because we don't know a better way. Should there be a way where the algorithm can be completely open and prevent abuse? Yeah, in theory, that should be the correct way of doing it. But as of right now, we don't have that. That's actually something that would be really cool to see an open standard around how to prevent that abuse. But that's something we're far away from. America's moving. No, America's not moving to Canada. Not yet. Not yet. It told it's in my blood. All right. So let's move on to security. You know what? I am going to, I didn't do this, but I am going to email Sourcegraph's CEO. They said that they would be happy to talk about it. I'll see if I cannot get them on an episode. I think that would be a ton of fun to just go through everything that they put here, but just have a conversation about it. I'd love to have a conversation with them. So I'll see if they're open to having a conversation about it. That would be awesome. All right, let's talk about security. New malware, PGMIM, targets PostgreSQL databases for crypto mining. I thought that the best use case of crypto was scamming people, but now I'm convinced that the best case of crypto is malware. We see it all over the place. There is now PGMIM that's designed to mine cryptocurrency after brute forcing their way into PostgreSQL database instances. So it's really important to be monitoring for this. So brute force attacks on Postgres just involve repeatedly asking. You should, one, not have weak passwords. Two, I always say keep your database off the public internet. They shouldn't have a way to access it to brute force the things. And this is also where you should have statistical anomaly detection on your networks, because somebody brute forcing your passwords is pretty easy to detect as far as that goes. There's very common patterns for this. So that's how you protect from this. But they then leverage PGMIM to mine Bitcoin with your Postgres instance. All they need is the credentials. I have been talking about the National Public Data Leak. It's pretty bad. It's very bad. And basically, at this point, if you're in the UK, Canada, or North America, which I realize Canada is part of, you need to be monitoring your credit reports, and be checking on that. It's that bad. It's that's about all I can say. I can't say much more. Like, your data is out there, and it is. I obtained. So it's easily obtainable. Do with what you want. Researchers uncover TLS bootstrap attack on Azure Kubernetes cluster. So if you have an Azure Kubernetes cluster, check out this. I do believe it's already patched. Oops, that's not the right place. There we go. It's already patched. So if you are... Actually, should I post these links in the Discord too for the news? I could post all these links in the Discord. Let me know if you guys would like that. Anyways, they have a new attack thing. It has been patched. So I mean, you should check if there's been any interesting activity. But I don't know if anybody's. The research article said that they weren't any known people there's a way to say this more elegantly that's slipping my mind, but there was no known leveraging of this in production, so probably safe, but never hurts to check. The CISA warns of another critical SolarWinds remote code execution bug. So if you're running SolarWinds, make sure to patch your systems. Probably daily. If you're running SolarWinds, you need to be patching all the time. And the last thing, I think I announced this, but the last thing is that there is, from August 15th, the mandatory multi-factor authentication for Azure sign-in. You have to be using multi-authentication for Azure. Coming soon. Wait, when was this? I forget. They have a deadline. When was the deadline? I'm announcing it, but I forgot. It's coming. It's coming. So just that goes in line with GitHub. GitHub is also now forcing multi-factor authentication. So be prepared for those things. A lot of places are starting to do this to make it a little bit more secure. And that's it for security. Did anybody else see anything for security that they'd like to bring up? Got to harvest them phone numbers? You don't have to. This this will suffice as a multi-factor authentication. I highly recommend the YubiKey, the Ubiest of keys. I think that they're a great company. I think that they've done some really awesome stuff. And I think that YubiKeys are a fantastic way. No, I'm not sponsored. No, they didn't pay me to say that. Would I accept a sponsorship from them? I would. But that's also because I would sing their praises anyways. Why can't you just use your computer? You absolutely can just use your computer. Multi-factor authentication isn't used for logging onto my computer. That's not. I logged into my computer without any internet access. Easy. This is for online systems. And especially if you're a business, you want this because what it helps you do is it helps if you steal my password and try to log in from something that's not my computer, you'll have to have my YubiKey as well. So, as a person who has a lot of power of a lot of systems, I take this very, very seriously. I actually don't even leave my YubiKeys at home. They stay on my person, or where my person is. And I have a different set of YubiKeys for work versus my personal. So yes, there are people, and don't think that you're not worth stealing from. Don't do that, because that's just not true. Think about all the systems you have access to. You might not have admin to all your cloud instances or be the owner of those cloud instances, but you can still spend on there. You could still, somebody could use your credentials to run, 1,000, crypto miners, even if they only did it for, a day. They could steal a bunch of code. There's a lot out there for them to steal from you. Don't sell yourself short. You have access to systems at your work. Even if you're like, I don't have any money in the bank, they're not going to steal anything from me. There's stuff that they can steal from you, including your identity, but they don't need to steal that from you. We had somebody leak it for us. So, all right, let's jump into open source. Let's do open source before AI, ML. Well, let's jump into some open source news. There's some really cool open source news that has come out in the last week, and I'm excited to talk about it. Unless if somebody else has something for security. All right. Well, the very first thing in open source comes from an unlikely contender. Go wild. Wildcard support in rules and a new open source wildcard crate. Now, I'm not as interested, this kind of would be in cloud news, about the wildcard support in Cloudflare. And that's fine. So like, there you go. Cloudflare now has wildcard support. But what's more interesting, and I'm going to post this for everybody to share. What's more interesting about this is if you scroll down through all of their wildcard support in their stuff, they actually created a new Rust crate for everyone to use. So yeah, you got to get down to about how we built it, which is really cool. I love it when companies come out and they say, hey, we're not selling wildcard support. So not only are we not only are we going to make this in our service, but we're also going to provide it to other people that might have done it. And then what happened was they basically didn't find a good wildcard crate, and it needed to be efficient because they had to handle these wildcard things on millions of transactions a day. And so it needed to be robust and efficient. And so they went through and they checked out all of the different crates. They basically went through and they said, okay, if you're not familiar with Big O, they had a problem with the time complexity of the solutions that were out there, and they needed one with better time complexity. And so that's what they did. And they created this right here, a wildcard for you all. And it's a wildcard matching, which is pretty cool. So if you want to do wildcard matching, you want to do it fast and efficiently, then guess what? You now can, and it's pretty awesome. You know what? Another good thing that this is for, Cloudflare actually does a lot of Rust stuff. And so if you're new to Rust and you want to see how a team that is comfortable doing Rust organizes their project and how they do stuff. This is a really small project. It's very, very, very small. You know, there's not a whole lot, but it is super well documented. They went through and they put in a bunch of comments for everything that you're wanting to do here. It is amazingly well documented. I really do kudos to them. I was looking through this and I was like, wow, they did a really, really good job. So if you're wanting to understand a little bit, I probably wouldn't have made it all one file like they did. I understand why they did this like they did, but it's a good way to get started. Let's move on. There's more to open source than that. Victoria metrics. If you've been just him-hawing about Prometheus and other ways of solving metrics, there's a new open source player on the block. Now, they're not super new, but there's something pretty cool about this. It is open source for one. So it's open source, but they have a new cloud offering. But the really cool thing about the cloud offering that I super appreciate is it doesn't lock you in. Literally, you can ask them for all of your data in the cloud, and they will export it for you for free so that you can then host your Victoria metrics on the open source one on your own thing, or on the enterprise version if you'd like. They do the standard, the open source version, and then they have an enterprise version with some extra features with support. Actually, it might just be support. The enterprise might be just support, but you can literally get it exported from their cloud if all of a sudden it's costing too much or whatnot, and run it in just the Victoria metrics that you're running locally. That's super cool. And I wanted to give them a shout out because very few open source projects takes this opinionated of a run where you can start using it and then, you know, shift off if you like, which was, in my opinion, super cool. Good job, Victoria metrics. I've never used them, so I can't sit here and tell you that they're an amazing metrics project. I don't know. I'm not saying they're not. They could be. I just don't know. Never used them before. But it was a cool stance, and it is an open source. You can go and let's see. I found their GitHub. You can go check out the Victoria metrics if you like, and give it a shot. So yeah, it's open source. It's under Apache. It's under the Apache too. I was gonna say it's real open source, not that garbage source available stuff. So that's pretty awesome. Now, the next piece of news is out there for you Go-loving Kubernetes fanatics, service mesh fanatics. If you love Go, you love Kubernetes, and you love service meshes. That's just how it works. Those all go hand in hand. They're like a special glove just made for you. That being said, istio 123 has been released. Support. And the big thing is the ambient mesh. Now, ambient mesh has moved into beta in 122. And 123 brings a huge set of improvements, not my words, their words, for that. So basically, I would say that this is the version that could go GA. Honestly, the last one kind of moved to beta before it was really ready. To me, how Kubernetes does stuff, beta really is like, we think this is right. We just needed to let it set, let it cook, maybe make small improvements. This was like we actually had to add features, which really isn't beta for me, not in the Kubernetes. So I think it went to beta a little early. This 123 really seems like the good beta. And so I'm really excited about this because it gets rid of the hacky sidecar business and it leverages service mesh using eBPF. And I think that it will improve a lot of people's lives. If nothing else, it could improve performance. I've heard legend says it improves performance. But I've also, even if it doesn't improve performance, which I think it probably will, it will make your life easier. And that's all that I care about. All I care about. Look. Ditch sidecars. Just stop doing sidecars. Are, I know that I use Lightstream as a sidecar. I know that I do this for Twitch alerts. But sidecars are generally an anti-pattern, in my opinion. And I don't even know what the word, I think the word anti-pattern is an anti-pattern. It's a bad pattern. Let me put it that way. I think it's a bad way to do it, okay? In general. Yeah. All right. Some big news in the Rust community. For all of you rusty people out there, Rust 180, what we're so excited about, breaks existing codes such as timecrate, exposes compatibility snag with type inference. Uh-oh. So this comes from the issue was caused by a new implementation of from iter added to box stir, which had a knock-on impact on Rust code that infers types. This type inference occurs when the compiler deduces the types of variables. Basically, some code that used to compile might not compile anymore. NixOS, which is a fan favorite of some of the people in my community. So this is interesting though. It doesn't seem like a big deal. They're saying that the regression was found in 5,000 crates doesn't. I mean, my guess here is that 4,500 of them are like my crates, and it doesn't really matter. It will be 5 seconds to update. I do generally think that changes like this should be locked behind those additions. You know, the 2023, the 2018, those type of additions. So I'm actually kind of wondering why it wasn't waited until then. But you can read more about it if you want to. There's been a lot of discussions. I read as much as I could while working on my house. But, you know, I don't have a clear opinion on whether this should have been handled this way or not. But I'm just letting you guys know this is out there. Elven Sorcerer, there is a decent intersection of what Rust and NixOS people care about, absolutely, which probably is why there's a decent number of people on my stream that also like NixOS. Absolutely. I 100% agree. We are in the middle of an ad. I'm not saying that Rust should care about NixOS. You're right. They should care about the language. I'm saying that there's generally an overlap of people that like those two things because they generally care about the same thing. You know, Rust cares about correctness. The people that like NixOS care about correctness and repeatability and things like that. So generally, I think that those two groups of people have a lot of overlap. I think that's what the Elven Sorcerer was saying. Not that Rust cares about what NixOS cares about, just that they both have kind of the same mission. One's a language, obviously. One's a package manager, OS / everything-ish. But it repeatedly won't build. No matter how many times I asked it, it just won't build. If I create a language, it's going to be an April Fool language. And the whole point of the language will be to not be repeatable. That will be part of it. Like every single time to get it to compile, you'll have to change something. That will be like the goal. Is like, if you're going to make a new compile, you're going to have to change it. I'm not sure how we'll do it, but that will be fun. 100% not repeatable. And it will be only duck typing. For sure. And roll 6 to build. That's actually pretty fantastic. That's actually pretty fantastic. All right, welcome back from the ad, everyone. Welcome back. Let's get into AI ML. Unless if anybody else had any open source news that I missed. That was it for me on the open source front. Now, I'm going to throw in a slight reminder here for anybody that's just joining. Not streaming this next week. That includes Friday. I doubt I do a news stream. It includes Saturday, both this Saturday and next Saturday. I doubt I do a Saturday stream. I will try to ensure that the week after that, I do both a Friday and a Saturday stream, but it's just a warning. This is book 1, part 2 of Merrick Moves to a Different State. All right, let's talk about AI ML. Chasing the AI dragon? Your AI team might be circling the drain, IBM warns. All right, so there is so much coming out, and I know that the AI games were supposed to be taking place this weekend, but I've been putting a lot of work into them, and the AI games are waiting until I'm in my new temporary house. Thank you so much for the follow. There's your AI generated, there's your AI generated follow message. It's custom to you. Thank you so much for following. That's in a weird location for the news. Anyways, whatever. Let's move on. So we're going to do the AI games, and I know it was supposed to be the end of August, and it's probably going to be the end of September because I have been reworking the AI games. It's going to be more fun, more informative, and it has so much more to cover nowadays. So I'm working on it. Don't worry. The AI summer games are going to be probably the AI fall games of 2024. We all like the fall games. So we're going to be trying to understand this better than what a lot of these things, because you get a lot of conflicting things. So you'll see this other article, AI coding tools are finally delivering results for enterprises. And you'll see this where it says in a leaked recording, Amazon cloud chief tells employees that most developers could stop coding soon as AI takes over. Now, if you actually dig into this, and the really annoying thing and what I want to cover in the news is this is just showing the results from the GitHub poll that's going through. And if you actually dig into those, it talks about the acceptance rate. And I've talked very long in depth about how the AI acceptance rate isn't very great, because a lot of times I accept things that then I plan on going back and changing or fixing or whatnot. So just because I accept it, it's a really bad metric. And even if you're getting into the 30%, it might actually more effective if 30% of your suggestions I accept. And let's say I change half of those, they're close. Is all the other bad ones that I had to read and reject actually making me more efficient? Those are a lot of hard questions that I'm not sure the answer to. Those are a lot of things that I don't know that anybody actually knows the answer to. And that's what a lot of the AI games are planning on trying to judge, trying to get a good feel for. Some of it's a feeling, some of it's trying to be quantitative. We'll see how much data we actually get, but we should have a good time. A lot of it will be fun too. All right, so if you're in that thing where you think a lot of jobs are going to be taken by AI in the upcoming years, I'll make a video for you. Now, I'm in the middle of moving, and I want to do a good job at it, but I'll make a video for you. We'll do it, a live video with my thoughts on that. Don't let worry, whatever you do, do not let worry hold you back. Worry is only going to make you worse at anything. Worry is not making you better. Let tomorrow worry about tomorrow. That's like the best advice I can give you. We can sit here all day worried about the future, and that's not going to help you. What is going to help you is leveling up your skills, becoming very useful. That was a terrible English language. What would help me is leveling up my ability to speak English. But don't let worry ruin your day, ruin your week. It's not productive. It's not productive. And I know it's hard. I'm going to sit here and tell you not to. I still worry. I'm not saying that I'm some savant who's gotten rid of all my worry or whatnot. I still do it myself. I have a son with a chronic illness as well as a wife with a chronic illness, and I worry about being able to provide for them. And I have a hard time not worrying about the future. But what I have learned is that all the worrying I have done has never helped me. Okay? So let's stop there. Learning to pivot and researching where to pivot is the key. The industry changes all the time. This has happened for years and years and years. Think 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we didn't have tractors farming. Farmers have had to pivot to stay relevant and to continue farming. This has been in manufacturing industry for hundreds of years at this point. It's always changing and pivoting. One of the things that I love to point out is that Tesla probably has one of the most automated car lines in the world, and they also hire the most people on the floor. So it is what it is. It is what it is. I will make a video on this. Thanks for bringing it up. I really appreciate you bringing it up. I want to help satiate. I can't speak stupid English. The people who made English the dominant language, I hate you all. I wish we were speaking something better. Anyways, I hope to alleviate your concerns in that video, and I do want to help you not worry about it in the future because I don't think it's productive for you. But that being said, I know that it can be hard to just not worry. There are things that we can do moving forward, and that's what I want to do with the AI games. That's what I want to do on this stream. We should always be continuing and learning something new. There's always going to be a problem in the future for us to solve. It's understanding what that problem is and how to best solve it, which takes time and effort. Now, I don't think you need to be as worried about AIs specifically. Oh, 1 second. I just got a lot of messages for some reason. And you want to know a really big one? So far, AIs are really bad with your data. You should never, ever train on private data. And Slack, I cannot believe they did this. They decided they were going to train their AI on private channels. Absolutely cannot believe they had the audacity to do that. And because the problem is, this is easy. This is a very easy attack. You barely have to do classical prompt injection to get private data. Never ever give an AI private data. And that means I wouldn't use AI on a private code base. Ever at this point. Last week, I pointed out how one of the leaders in the Azure AI section said, we have no idea how to make it secure. There are so many problems like that right now that it's challenging. All right. Another example for you. Microsoft Copilot Studio exploit leaks sensitive cloud data. So the stuff that's built into the server side request forgery bug in Microsoft tool for creating custom AI chatbot potentially exposed info across multiple tenants within cloud environments. There are so many examples of this right now that I would not touch artificial intelligence in anything that I wanted to be slightly secure at all. Now everybody will say yes, Merrick, but in 2 years. There's other problems that aren't going to be solved in 2 years, and we'll get into those. But I'll make a real video, and what I'd like to do with those videos that I make, I also want to make a blog post that goes along with them. That's one thing that I'm going to do a little bit better in the future. Hopefully, is put blog posts with those videos so we can talk about it, but it also can be cleanly spelled out in a blog post instead of just spoken. Okay, let's talk about the clouds. That's interesting because my company won't allow any AI use except for they just approve Copilot. All right, so I am a leader at a company, and my recommendation for our company and any company is that have fun with AI with public things. If you have open source things and want to try leveraging it, go for it. I would, at this point, never let an AI touch a private thing. That's my recommendation to you, to companies. If people want to talk about it, if they're confused about the risks and rewards, please send them my way. I'm happy to talk to them on stream, have a little interview with them, and go over the details and why I say those things. I am not somebody that hasn't used AI. I've actually used a lot of AI tools that I haven't even streamed. One of those is actually pretty cool. We need to do the stream. I've been trying to get the creator of the tool on stream with me. He's tentatively accepted. We just haven't worked out when, and that's why I haven't used the tool with you guys. But that's still my recommendation. How do I feel about running an LLM privately? Can you afford to? Can you afford to train one and run it? Probably not train one, but you could take Llama and you could tweak Llama and you could run that. Tweaking Llama is going to be expensive. And do you really know what you're doing to tweak it? Maybe not. And if you don't tweak it, is it really going to be that useful just as a thing? Llama's not tweaked to running code. So if you want it to code for you, you'd really need to do a lot of stuff to tweak it. Yeah. There are tools for tweaking models. Yes, I agree. And we can do it. It's still expensive. But the actual data you use to tweak it is important, right? You can't just tweak it with anything. And in fact, I've never seen a successful tweak of Llama that does coding very well. Not saying that you can't do it. I'm saying that it's difficult to do. Now, if you want to tweak Llama to do your docs, this is something we can do. And I think people could do this. You can tweak Llama with your docs. You can train it with your docs. Then you can RAG it with your docs. And this is easy. In fact, I have a coworker who would love to come on and show you how to do that, if you guys would want to. Now, they're going to use Aerospike because they're a coworker and they're part of our what are the names of the engineers that build projects? They're part of the DevRel team. If you guys would love to see how to do that, and he would focus on how to actually do it, he'd more than welcome to come on the stream. Making an LM is really easy. Yes. Making a useful one is not. That's my point. If you guys are interested in that, I will get Art on, and we will do a stream on it. We'll do a stream where we train it on documentation and then RAG that on the documentation. He's absolutely offered to do that, and we'll do it. Hi, Merrick. I'm a cloud DevOps engineer. Should I switch to MLOps? How's the market? Well, the market's really good right now for MLOps, if that's what you're interested in. Now, before I give career advice, you're a first-time chatter, and I'm happy to have you here. Thanks for being here. You have to understand my take on giving advice. I can give you only advice from my purview, and I want you to know that before I give advice. And that's something that people don't understand. They look at their favorite streamer, or, they look at Kelsey Hightower and whatnot. Kelsey Hightower can only give advice from his purview, from his experience, from what has happened to him. And I want everybody to be clear, when getting advice from me, I'm giving it from my purview, from the companies that I work from both the good and the bad. Is the ML ops a good market? Yeah, it's a good market right now. Now, what will ML ops look like in the future? If I'm looking at career switching, that's the thing that I'm looking at. I don't care about what it's right now. What is it going to be in 10 years? Now, my guess, if you're asking me, is that it will be pretty good. I think that there are some things that current ML does very well. And the current generative transformers do fairly well. And for that, I think that Spacetime DB, welcome. Thank you so much, Spacetime DB. If people don't know, go check out Spacetime DB. Let's give them a shout out. If you guys don't know what Spacetime DB is, they're a stream, but they're also a product that is a database. I think the database is designed for games, but you probably could use it for other things too. I'm very notorious for using things in ways they're not meant to be used. I'm very notorious for that, but you should go check out their stream and check this out. It seems like a very interesting game-based engine. So basically, it allows you to run your code in the database very natively. Think macros, but maybe a lot more natively. So it's very interesting. I haven't actually gotten to leverage Spacetime DB to build a game, but it's on my to-do list at some time in the future. Maybe we can have a little co-op. For all you raiders out there, let Spacetime DB know that he should do a stream with me. Yeah. I definitely want to do something that's not intended for. You know, that's what I like to do. So if we use it, we need to do something that's not been done before with it. We need to do something interesting with it. Absolutely, would love to. You know, we could do just web stuff with it. We could try that. We could try something else. I'm open to ideas. All right. So I got to get back to the news. One thing I have to let you all know, remember, this is the last stream for the week because I'm moving this weekend. So it will be a week before I see you guys all again, just as an FYI. And today is the news for everybody that's new. We're doing the news every Friday during lunch, except next Friday because I'm moving. Every Friday, we cover the news in open source. We cover open source, security, drama if there's drama, and cloud news. We're wrapping up with cloud news right now. So anyways, yeah. Ooh, some kind of multiplayer CLI game. Multiplayer terminal history. That actually sounds kind of fun. But it's a game. But now you have me stuck on this. Okay. I don't know if you guys remember the really old terminal games. I'm talking really old, where you actually had to dial into like a bulletin board. And you could play these games where like so the one that I'm remembering, and I don't remember what it's called, you could like get planets and stuff. Oh, Hangman for the last command you ran. That would be interesting. What I was thinking of is basically like one of those tick-driven games. Could we do a tick-driven game in space-time? Maybe. That's CLI. That's multiplayer. This sounds terrible, but also awesome. But we should do something simpler because that sounds like a lot of work. All right, let's get back to the news for today. Welcome, Raiders. We have one last thing to do, and then I've got to get going because I have to finish painting. Because there's painting to be done. There's so much painting. So much. I did not realize how much painting there is when you paint a whole house. Did not realize. All right. Let's start. English is difficult. Let's start with GCP. GCP actually had some pretty cool things that came out. Oh, no, I'm not painting the exterior, thankfully. It's a brick exterior. No, just the interior. But we literally had to paint every single room because we've lived here for 10 years and the kids have damaged almost every single wall in some way or another. Lucky? I don't know that I'm lucky, but I suppose not painting the outside is fortuitous of me. All right. Cloud news. Let's talk about Cloud Functions. GCP is renaming Cloud Functions to Cloud Run Functions, which I wish they had just left it as Cloud Functions and not renamed, but let's talk about why they did the rename, because it's not just a rename. At this point, Cloud Functions are basically also incorporating in Cloud Run. So they used to have these two things, Cloud Functions and Cloud Run, and some were more powerful than others, and Cloud Run Functions got these updates. And so now everybody, even if you were just using the old Cloud Functions, can now use Cloud Run Functions, which brings a lot of new features, including GPU support NVIDIA GPUs. So basically, if you wanted to do some inferencing live in a function, you can. How expensive that is, I don't know. But there's actually more than just renaming this. So anyways, that was just my warning. If you thought it was just a rename, it's not. It's a big change. Big change, big update, big upgrade too, because basically it used to be you had to migrate to one. Now you basically get it for free. Introducing the delayed destruction for secrets managed. This is something I have complained about. This has been a terrible scourge on their secret manager, and they've finally done it. Good job. This is amazing. So basically, you can put a production in. This has two aspects to it, which is really huge. The first aspect is that you can enforce a time for destruction of a secret. Let's say a day. Let's say a week. I don't know, don't care. Either one's fine. This protects you in a couple ways. If a hacker gets some access, sometimes they'll actually just go and delete all your secrets, which is a pain in the butt. Actually, it's a huge problem. They can just go and delete all of your secrets, and that can take a lot of time to restore. The second thing that this does is it protects you from accidental deletions. So previously, now, a delete is instantaneous and permanent. And if somebody accidentally deleted something, it's instantaneous and permanent. Now you can have a day oopsies where you can't use the secret anymore. When you delete it, all of the systems will unable to use it or leverage it anymore. But you can undo it within a day or within a week, whatever your time period is. That way you can delete it and you guys can be like, we're down in production, and you can undelete it very quickly. Now, obviously you should have more controls in place than that, but accidents do happen. And this is huge, especially for small teams that don't have those types of protections. Now, the second part of this, which is also huge and important, is that there is an event now when something is deleted. So let's say something gets deleted and you'd like to know. Well, now you can have Slack, you can have email, you can do anything that you can do in a function because there's now a cloud event that allows you to basically, when that secret gets disabled, allows you to pub sub and do whatever you want, whether that's a Slack, email, or whatever. So that's huge. Now you know. Now you can have a Slack channel where you can be like, hey, all of us DevSecOps people or DevOps or platform engineers or whoever, SREs, don't know, don't care. They can be monitoring that and be like, wait a second, we can't delete that. Who did that? Huge. I love this change. Absolutely massive. C4 VMs are the most explosive VMs to hit the market. That's what they should have said instead of saying unmatched performance. And the reason they shouldn't have said unmatched performance is because I am the reporter of Cloud News, and it does not have unmatched performance. Let me tell you that. Okay, so C4, the biggest, 192, 720 gigabytes of memory, 100 gigabits of bandwidth for, the bandwidth. If you get tier 1, you can get up to 200. Unmatched my foot. Let's talk about the P5. Not the P5. Why am I talking about? Yeah. The P5. We got 192 virtual CPUs. We got 2 terabytes of memory. We have GPUs. We have 32,000 gigabits. 3,200, not 32,000. 3,200 gigabits per second network bandwidth. I am sorry, GCP, but there is matched performance. Actually, better performance than what this does. Now, I have to say, if you're talking about standard, this does actually meet the compute standards of the the standard M7As of this 192 and 768 gigabytes of memory, and it actually has better network than the general purpose M7As. So if that was what they were comparing it to, maybe that makes more sense. Just don't say unmatched. Say say the most explosive. It's C4. You can't not say the most explosive VMs. I don't understand it. Anyways, talk to me next time, GCP. All right, let's talk about Azure news or AWS news. Let's talk about AWS. That was the end of it. Now, does everybody know how to read these? All right, well, I'm going to let you know how to read these. A stands for AMD, I stands for Intel, and G stands for Graviton. So when you see these like this, that's what they're meaning. And Mac stands for Crapintosh. So this is AMD, this is Intel, this is a Graviton. The 7 is the generation, and the M is the general compute. No, G is for Graviton. This is the 7 is the generation, and the M is the series. So, and this is pretty much held throughout everything. See this I? This is an Intel. I don't know what flex means, to be completely honest with you, versus I. They're slightly different, but like they're Intel. I don't know that one, but this is an M5A. This is an AMD. It's an AMD. It's the 5th generation, and it's the M series. Boom. We can tell that it's pretty evenly weighted. This is what you're getting throughout these, the M series. But this is the 5th generation. This is the 7th generation AMD. F is for friends who do that. Oh, gosh. Okay, well, I don't know what flex is for. Anyways, let's move on. There's other cool stuff, including this. Add macOS to your continuous integration pipelines with AWS Code Build. Now, it's in Code Build, but do you want to use it? That's the question you have to ask. It is prohibitively expensive, and they basically blame Apple for it. I meant to pull this out. Yes. Code Build for macOS works with reserved fleets. Contrary to on-demand fleets where you pay per minute to build, reserved fleets are charged for the time the build machines are reserved for your exclusive usage, even with no builds running. The capacity reservation flows blah, 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 as required by the software agreement for Mac OS. So basically what they're saying here is you have to reserve it for a whole month. Whether you build just one thing, you reserve the whole thing. And the interesting, actually, did they change it to 24-hour minimum? Oh, this is new. It used to be an entire month. Now they have it down to 24 hours, which is fantastic. But the basic thing is they're expensive. You have to reserve them for 24 hours to use them. And I don't know if you want to use it or not. It literally was cheaper to run buy an M1 Mac after 2.5 months. If you were using it for a month solid. 2.5 months. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Amazon Document DB with MongoDB capability. Global clusters introduce failover. So there's failover now. If you're using that, go ahead and use it. That's pretty good. There's also, they introduced switchover with this. So basically this was a huge rollout for their Document DB. If you're leveraging it, they actually released a bunch of stuff for that. I'm not going to go into too much detail on all of this stuff, but if you're using Document DB, there's now failover and switchover available on it, which is a lot to do with their file system at this point. So basically they did a huge update to that to allow these things to happen. And yeah, go give it a check if you're leveraging that type of stuff. AWS Identity and Access Management now support AWS Private Link in all commercial regions. I didn't know that this wasn't a thing. I guess I've been spoiled that Private Link has been available in for access management in all the regions I work in. So I guess this is just a PSA. Now you know. Now you know. Let's talk about Azure. PostgreSQL inline for... Why is this in Azure? I really feel like this should have been in open source news. I mean, I remember I think this is pretty big. A Microsoft-backed open source project aims to address PostgreSQL's weakness as an analytical database. The project, which is under the permissive MIT, plans to bring popular in-process OLAP system DuckDB to PostgreSQL. Basically allows you to do analytical stuff in Postgres with this as an extension, which I think is kind of cool because it embeds DuckDB inside of inside of the PostgreSQL stuff. So it embeds it in there to allow you to use that for your analytical engine, which, so it's kind of a cool project. I've not used it. I was just interested in it. I don't know why it's here though. Let's actually jump into the Azure news. Azure news, public preview, JavaScript challenge on Azure WAF integration with Azure Front Door. So if Azure Front Door is actually working, if it's actually up and running, you can now use a JavaScript challenge. What this is basically, you know, those checkbox that says prove you're human? This is allowing your front end to have this challenge and solve the challenge with the back end with no user interaction to try to save you from bots. This is actually really cool. Now, what I don't like about this is it's not a full open source thing. You basically just get the client. It doesn't work with any WAF. It doesn't work with your system, your backend. You have to use Microsoft Front Door. But it's cool. If you're using Azure Front Door and you want to protect yourself from bots just mining all of your data, use this. Yeah, the reCAPTCHAs. It's basically reCAPTCHAs with no human interaction. That's what it is. So this is really cool. I like it. Good job, Azure. And the last thing. Customer managed plan failover for Azure storage. I love failovers. I absolutely love failovers. I'm glad that they added this. I don't use Azure storage. I can't comment more. I can really, I know. I go way more in depth on GCP and AWS because those are the platforms I use heavily, and I'm sorry. I am sorry I'm not as good at Azure. I saw this. I was like, great. They have failover, which basically is plan failover, from my understanding, is basically where you're planning on moving to another region. And so basically you set it up as a secondary, and then you basically say, hey, at 8 a.m., we're going to fail over. And that's plan failover, where you want to start using that new region. So anyways, it's there. Have a happy birthday for whoever's birthday it is out there. And that was the news for today. Did I miss anything? Was there something I should have covered? If there is, it's on you. I have a Discord I'd like you to join. Go ahead and do Discord. Join the Discord and make sure to leave news articles in the news channel if there's something that I should be covering for that week. Monta, your birthday is near. Happy birthday. I'll DM them on Discord. I'm actually in the space-time No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I thought I was. Wait. Maybe I am. No. I will join the space-time Discord. Thank you. The Halu. We'll have to do something fun and interesting, and maybe a little crazy. Maybe it won't work, but that's okay. I've had a few collabs with a few different people. I did a chain guard one. I always have fun because we always just try something, and you know, I don't always have it not working can be just as fun as it working. So we'll just have to come up with something that we think we can do in like 6 hours, and then set out to try doing it. That's what I do. All right. That's it for me today. I have to get working on my house. Wish me luck. Wish me luck. I'll need it. I will absolutely need it. Have yourselves a fantastic week. Remember, I'm not streaming this upcoming week because I will be out, hopefully driving a truck. The Null Labs is moving to a different basement, maybe near you if you're in the northeast of the U.S. Replace etcd with Spacetime DB for Kubernetes. Oh gosh, Russell, that sounds amazing and horrible. I don't know about that. Anyways, have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Have yourselves a fantastic week. I will see you hopefully in like a week and a half. If I survive. All right. Talk to you later. Let's see. Let me see if there's somebody raid. Let's see if we have some place to raid right now. Let's see. Tej is on. Let's see. The Alt F4 stream is on. Alt F4 or TJ? What would you all like? TJ is doing PHP. Okay, Alt F4 is doing Rust. We'll do the Alt F4 stream. Sounds good. That was easy enough. All right, go say hello to Alt F4, and thanks everybody for joining. Oh, I guess we have to wait 5 seconds now. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.